They don't respect the one who stays. They don't salute the saint who forgives, the diplomat who explains, the lover who keeps giving chances, praying they'll finally notice your worth. They bow to the one who goes silent, vanishes, and lets the empty space speak. When you walk without flinching, without slamming doors, with a calm that feels colder than steel, everything rearranges itself around your absence. Why does disappearing trigger awe? Because remaining available advertises desperation. Each time you stay after a slight, you write a public memo. My price is negotiable. They may not read political theory, but they understand supply and demand. Abundance cheapens, scarcity crowns. The more you explain, the more you flood the market. The less you say, the rarer you become. Machiavelli saw this in courts full of flatterers and traitors. Men in general judge more by the eye than by the hand, he warns. When you linger, they see endurance. When you exit, they feel consequence. Vision fades. Sensation scars. The shock of your departure burns an imprint deeper than any conversation you ever begged to have. Every toxic pattern is a simple laboratory experiment. They hurt you, study the reaction, tweak the dosage, hurt you again. If the mouse keeps pressing the lever that delivers pain, the scientist concludes the mouse cannot learn. So they escalate. Subtler lies, sharper jabs, longer silences. You answer each with apologies and paragraphs, and your paragraphs license another round of cruelty. Then one morning the lever stops clicking. You leave the maze. No announcement, no tears, no theatrical unfriending spree, just stillness, the hush before a storm they did not foresee. Suddenly, the scientist becomes the subject, scrambling for the missing variable. They refresh your profile, reread old threads, wonder whether you met someone richer in self-respect. They taste the terrifying possibility that you finally looked in the mirror and decided that was company enough. Observe the two outcomes of disrespect. In the first, you chase closure. You compose essays about boundaries and feelings. They respond with emojis, maybe a K. Your thoroughness validates their laziness. In the second, you delete the conversation from your mind, not your phone. The chat bubble stays untouched, a digital tombstone. Silence becomes the sermon. You never need deliver twice. Walking away is not tantrum. It is treaty. You are drafting new borders around your sovereignty. Every step into distance redraws a map. Here lies my dignity. Trespasses will encounter nothing but echoes. People mistake softness for virtue. But as Machiavelli reminds us, he who is compassionate when he should be cruel will eventually be cruel to those who expect compassion. Cruelty to your own worth is still cruelty, only internal, invisible, and lethal. What about forgiveness? Forgive, yes, for your own peace, but do it privately. Public forgiveness can resemble cheap credit, another loan they will default on. Quiet forgiveness is cash under the mattress. Never lent, never lost. It buys the ticket out and fuels the journey forward. They will call you stubborn. Let them. Stubborn stone outlasts shifting sand. Some will label you dramatic for stepping back. Remember, anyone benefiting from your confusion will campaign for your continued confusion. Clarity endangers them. They will accuse you of immaturity, accuse you of ego, accuse you of games, anything to lure you back into debate. Decline the invitation. Nothing starves manipulation like unanswered invitations. Silence is strategy, not sulking. It grants you bandwidth to audit yourself. Why did I tolerate what I did? Which fracture in my own foundation allowed their weight to settle there? Answer honestly, and you'll pour concrete into that crack. When they return with the same tactics, the ground is no longer soft. Expect the breadcrumb barrage, a hey stranger, a nostalgia meme, a memory of your birthday. Each crumb is baked. Bite once and the respect you gained evaporates. Patience is power. Let them starve. Machiavelli writes that fortune is a woman. She favors the bold. Do not mistake boldness for noise. The boldest act is often withdrawal, because withdrawal wages everything on self-belief. Your absence forces them into introspection or insanity, sometimes both. If introspection sprouts, growth is possible, but that is their harvest, not your responsibility. If insanity blooms, they will twist narratives. You're heartless, you're selfish, you never cared. Note how quickly those who needed you rebrand you as villain. That speed exposes their original motive. Control dressed as affection. Some friendships and romances survive a single walk away. The person wakes up, repairs, rises. Wonderful. Invite them through the gates you now guard with new codes. Others flop about promising reform only to repeat offenses. Remember, a promise costs them nothing. But believing that promise invoices your peace. Debt collectors don't fall for sweet talk. Neither should you. The circle of onlookers, the mutual friends, the curious colleagues, the judgmental relatives, will voice opinions. They will assign blame based on headlines, not histories. Let them talk. Reputation built on rumor is sandcastles at tide. You are building fortresses in land. Seasons will sift the storytellers. Inside your fortress, practice sovereign rituals. Invest in skills, knowledge, body, spirit. The energy once spent decoding mixed signals now fuels mastery. When they scroll your feed months later, they'll find no subtweets, no cryptic laments, and that paradoxically stings more than any direct insult, because it proves you were always capable of thriving without them. Here lies the Stoic wrinkle. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." Walking away enacts this maxim. You forfeit argument and embody standard. Instead of litigating your value, you live it. Value demonstrated is irrefutable. Value debated is discountable. Critics will ask, isn't this just pride? Answer, yes, healthy pride. Pride is knowing the market price of your soul and refusing clearance sales. False humility invites predators who sense the discount. The same critics rarely apply their advice to themselves. Observe their hypocrisies but don't catalog them. Exposure is their own burden. When scarcity sets in, those who used you as emotional Wi-Fi will search for another hotspot. They may find one, but remember, borrowed power is unstable. They will disconnect eventually and realize you were the router, not the user. By then, you'll be broadcasting on a private network. Machiavelli insisted, "A ruler choose allies carefully." The wise prince avoids those flatterers who, under the guise of admiration, seek only their own advantage. In modern terms, watch for the cheerleader whose pom-poms mask a pickpocket's hands. Applause can be camouflaged for extraction. Walk early, walk often, and walk far from arenas where the roar intoxicates more than the results justify. Exit is not exile. You are not banishing yourself to loneliness. You are escorting yourself to higher company. Sometimes that company is solitude, and solitude refines us. Diamonds form in pressure and obscurity, not public squares. Work in shadows until your shine blinds doubt itself. When you return, if you choose to, you do so as an independent state, not a desperate refugee. Diplomatic ties can resume, but treaties are rewritten. Trade deals require parity, not pity. Should they breach the new accords, history will repeat. You will depart in silence faster this time, because practice breeds efficiency. Detachment is a muscle. The first walk feels like tearing ligaments. Subsequent walks feel like stretching before a run. Eventually, you sprint from toxicity the moment it leaks through a crack. Distance becomes reflex, not strategy. Strategy is for chess. Reflex is for survival. Do not misinterpret distance as frozen emotion. You can love someone and still leave them. You can cherish memories while evacuating the minefield. Love is a feeling. Boundaries are choices. Feelings inform. Choices define. When choices contradict feelings, favor choices, they sculpt future feelings free from corrosion. A final Machiavellian gem. Men rise from one ambition to another. First, they seek to secure themselves against attack, and then they attack others. Reverse engineer it. Secure yourself by making disrespect unprofitable. You need never attack. Your life becomes a fortress so impenetrable that invaders quit before the first volley. And now, a word to the audience still learning this art. If today's lesson resonates, demonstrate it. Guard your focus. Withdraw from noise. Refine your craft. Then share this message so others escape the maze. Comment with the phrase, "Walk in power," to etch the commitment publicly. Subscribe to Stoic Spark and turn on notifications. Each new video is another brick in the fortress you're building. Remember, The world doesn't adjust to your words, it kneels to your standards. Standards enforced by silence echo louder than sermons. When you finally walk, do it once, do it clean, and never look over your shoulder. Respect will follow the imprint of your departing footsteps like an army that arrived too late to claim victory. Let them march in vain. Your kingdom lies ahead, not behind. Keep walking. Walk long enough, and you discover something paradoxical about distance. The farther you move from those who diminished you, the closer you come to the person you were meant to be. At first, the realization is subtle, like dawn light seeping over a dark valley, but it grows brighter with every step until you wonder why you ever begged for flashlights from people who never wanted you to see. Their approval was the cheapest currency on earth, and you mortgaged your soul for pennies. Now you have repossessed it, interest compounded. The silence you wield is no longer just a weapon. It is a workshop. Inside it, every unresolved question becomes raw material for mastery. Why did you accept crumbs? Where did your standards fracture? Whose opinion were you trying to impress? You melt each query down, forge it into fresh steel, and hammer it into fresh steel, and hammer it into a blade you will brandish whenever someone tries to bargain over your worth. Machiavelli warned that unarmed prophets are doomed. Your new boundaries are armaments, even if they look like nothing more than politely declined invitations. As days pile on, you notice an unexpected dividend. Your energy returns. The chronic fatigue that clung to you like damp clothes evaporates. Exhaustion was never about workload. It stemmed from too little respect. Emotional leeches siphon stamina faster than any schedule. With them gone, you breathe deeper. You answer messages slowly. You sleep without rehearsing rebuttals. Dreams lose their courtroom flavor. You wake with what the ancients called epithemia, a tranquil spirit, Seneca's prized state of cheerful steadiness. Steadiness is rare in an age addicted to reaction. Everyone is auditioning outrage, hawking hot takes like street vendors. Rage merchants quietly envy anyone who refuses to buy. Your refusal already bruises egos across the marketplace. Nothing unsettles a performer like an empty seat. They flip the script, call you apathetic, accuse you of neglecting civic duty, brand you socially absent, smile inwardly. Detachment is not death, it is disciplined life. You have chosen deliberate engagement over compulsory participation. With discipline comes reallocation. The bandwidth once wasted deciphering mixed signals now funds skill acquisition. Learning becomes addictive because progress obeys you. Unlike people, Machiavelli counseled old rulers to study war during peace. For peace never lasts. You study markets, languages, finance, martial arts, anything that sharpens mind and muscle. Predictably, those who forfeited access notice your upgrades late. They circle back, cloaking curiosity in casual greetings. Heard you launched a venture, saw you have been traveling. Impressive strength gains. They are scavenging proof that you remain reachable. Offer none. Excellence is your new wall. They may admire the stonework from outside the gate. Beware though, achievement attracts opportunists in polished armor. These newcomers have not hurt you yet. They smell fresh value and present themselves as allies. Test them quietly. Give a sliver of trust, never the whole loaf. Machiavelli divides allies into dependable and dangerous. He says mercenaries fight only while paid and often change sides. Modern mercenaries carry smiles instead of swords. If praise outpaces contribution, you have met one. A dependable ally invests first, compliments later. Maintain courtesy, but remember you are a sovereign, not a charity. Sovereignty demands ritual. Frame your mornings like a monarch surveying the realm. Audit emotions. Any lingering resentment is an unpaid invoice. Collect it through self-care, not confrontation. Train the body. Resistance reminds the mind that strength is manufactured under load. Review finances, the bloodstream of autonomy. Study strategy. History's battlefield diaries. Teach how to maneuver without marching. At night, record victories, however small. Those who chronicle their days rule their decades. Meanwhile, whispers spread among those you left. Someone insists you are cold. Another claims you are hiding heartbreak. Let them knit theories. A lion does not issue press releases. Truth is software installed only on authorized devices. The rest see a scrambled feed. What matters is that you no longer consume their versions of you. Your identity is an internal publication with readership limited to one. Solitude can morph into self-righteous seclusion if unbalanced. Marcus Aurelius cautioned himself, "Enter their minds and you find the same weakness. Even manipulators are scared children wearing elaborate disguises." Recognize that fact, not to excuse them, but to prevent arrogance from corroding compassion. Forgive fully when you choose. Just don't reopen the gates. Compassion is charity. Boundaries are taxes. Re-entry attempts follow a predictable arc. First phase, nostalgia bombs. Inside jokes, playlists, cafes where you shared philosophies. If that fails, second phase, guilt grenades. Real friends don't vanish. Should nostalgia and guilt miss? Third phase, rage rockets. So you think you're better than us. Each phase aims at your empathy. Block them with stoic shields. Perception, purpose, premeditation of mischief. Observe emotions without acting on them. Recall your mission. Remember you anticipated this tactic the day you walk. Eventually word reaches you. Someone calls you ruthless. Accept the title. Ruthless means without compassion for what destroys you. In that sense, ruthlessness is self-respect wearing armor. Machiavelli praises rulers who sever liabilities promptly. Delayed surgery costs kingdoms. You amputated toxicity before gangrene set in. That is not cruelty. It is triage. Pine moves. Your circle shrinks, but densifies. Fewer voices, richer dialogue. The echo of old chaos is replaced by the hum of collective growth. Colleagues extrapolate ideas instead of drama. Friends critique blind spots constructively. Mentors appear because you now stand where mentors roam, in arenas of action, not hallways of complaint. One evening you glimpse your reflection while crossing a window and pause startled by the posture. Shoulders open, gaze steady. Confidence crept in gradual steps unnoticed until now. It is the physical manifestation of uncompromising standards. Predators intuitively bypass prey that emits certainty. You have become unappetizing to manipulators, magnetic to catalysts. The strongest magnetism, however, is quiet competence. What Machiavelli called virtue, effectiveness fused with resilience. Virtue bends fortune through preparedness. Fortune is a river. Build dikes in calm weather and floods transform into opportunities. Your dikes are habits. Daily training, reading, investments, cold dawn showers, twilight gratitude, weekly solitude, seasonal reviews. Routine is destiny, wearing plain clothes. As destiny shifts, you may feel tempted to broadcast success as proof you are right to leave. Resist. Broadcasting burns energy and invites sabotage. Let results leak organically. Rumors of your rise will travel faster than declarations. Stoics and tacticians agree. The most strategic move is often no move. A silent ascent unnerves watchers. They have no target to sabotage. Silence does not equal secrecy. You still influence. Daily excellence plants uncomfortable questions in others. If they can grow after leaving, what am I tolerating? Without a sermon, you become a lighthouse, exposing reefs of codependency. Some curse the glare. A few steer clear and thank you later. Influence measured in liberated lives outweighs influence measured in likes. Freedom triggers option surplus, offers roll-in, partnerships, collaborations, even romance because independence shines. Remember your new valuation model. Respect or reject. If an offer requires shrinking your standards, it is a hidden tax. Decline graciously. Opportunity that demands self-editing is a disguised cage. Occasionally loneliness whispers, asking whether fortress life is worth the quiet. Counter with perspective. Solitude is room to host your highest potential. Company on false terms is rented noise. When real allies knock, you will recognize them by an absence of price tags. Until then, solitude remains sanctuary, not sentence. There will be days when resolve trembles. Birthdays, sick nights, memory triggers. The urge to reach out flares. Inhale and ask, will this restore or relive? Most replies, relive. Healing rarely hides in history's basement. When nostalgia urges relapse, fear the cost of regression and reason through the fantasy. Walk on. Walk far enough and you cross another border. The frontier where forgiveness exists without reunion. From this high ground, resentment is too heavy to haul farther. You set it down for the sake of traction. Light travel accelerates progress. Memory has already rendered justice. It warns you in every new negotiation. The lesson stands guard. Bitterness can retire. The stride shifts from retreat to advance. Projects blossom. Finances climb. A mentor notes your calm intensity. You realize calm intensity is precisely the equilibrium Machiavelli admired. Alert, yet unflappable. The world mistakes it for luck, but luck is location. You relocated from chaos to competence, and fortune visits places competence resides. Then, as predictable as eclipses, a message arrives from the first offender. Can we talk? I miss how you understood me. Your heartbeat stays steady. They miss the version of you that sacrificed itself, not the one who survives. Replying would reopen a negotiation already closed. The notification fades. Some stories find closure only in unanswered endings. Seasons advance and the edges of your past grow blurred, yet the discipline remains crystalline. You wake before first light not to prove anything, but because dawn is an ally that whispers secrets no bustling city can overhear. Breathing in the quiet, you recall a hard truth. Whoever masters mornings eventually masters years. The sun is still climbing when your mind is already marching. By the time the world begins its daily quarrel, you stand equipped and untroubled. An iron gate closed against pettiness. Peaceful momentum invites reflection on earlier mistakes. You see clearly that every plea you once delivered was a form of debt. Emotional loans extended to borrowers who never intended repayment. Recollecting those moments is no longer painful. It is educational. The same way a scar reminds a warrior where the blade slipped. Instead of lamenting lost effort, you translate memory into method. Never advance credit when proof of value is overdue. New opportunities approach, bearing polished smiles. Yet you now evaluate offers through a lens that weighs intention as much as outcome. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must keep his word only when honor and interest align. In modern form, that means commitments must serve both morality and mission. Goodwill without strategy is sentimental charity. Strategy without goodwill is predatory. You choose neither extreme, walking the line where purpose meets principle. Every so often, a rumor wafts back that someone from the old circle calls you a phantom, unreachable, and aloof. The accusation pleases you more than flattery ever could because it signals healthy distance. People cannot haunt a house whose doors are locked and whose owner no longer resides there. You move to a stronger dwelling, self-command, and sent the forwarding address only to those capable of respecting it. Solitude, however, is not stubborn isolation. You cultivate relations that honor mutual elevation. Coffee with a thinker sparks fresh insight. Sparring at the gym refineses grit. Silent hikes with a trusted companion restore humility beneath the vast impartial sky. These alliances are light but tensile, able to bend without breaking because none are anchored in neediness. Respect flows in quiet exchanges, not grand performances. There are evenings when the old ache returns, a dull echo whispering that leaving might have been too severe. On such nights you deliberately sit with the discomfort, tracing its outline without judgment. Stoics taught that pain is information, not prophecy. Once acknowledged, the ache dissolves like breath on glass, leaving a clear pane through which you view tomorrow's agenda. Self-interrogation becomes a ritual cleansing, sweeping away emotional residue before it molds into regret. Progress accelerates as self-doubt recedes. Financial ventures mature. Creative projects gain traction. Physical conditioning reaches a level where exertion feels like celebration rather than punishment. Strangers begin to perceive gravitas in your presence, though you never speak of conquest. Authority that requires announcement is brittle. True authority radiates silently like gravity, shaping everything nearby without visible effort. Inevitably, life tests the fortress you have built. An unforeseen loss strikes. A deal collapses. A loved one falls ill. A storm floods carefully laid plans. Where an earlier version of you might have scrambled for reassurance from fickle sources, you now turn inward, consulting the council of principles etched through seasons of disciplined distance. The setback stings, but it does not unmake you. Principles absorb shock. The way seasoned oak bends to fierce wind yet refuses to splinter. As recovery unfolds, you notice a deeper shift. Detachment has evolved into creative liberty. No longer tethered to validation, you experiment boldly. Launch ideas that might fail yet excite your spirit. Failure is no longer fatal. It is simply data. Critics still lurk, but their voices reach you through layers of earned indifference. Their judgments bounce off a surface polished by resilience and coated with purpose. From this vantage, forgiveness matures. You look back at earlier antagonists and see confused travelers stumbling through their own fog. You grant them the mercy of distance and the blessing of anonymity within your memory. Not because they deserve absolution, but because dragging their shadows forward would only dim your horizon. Let them wander. You are building tomorrow. Leadership opportunities appear, and you accept selectively. Guiding others requires time. Yet you remember how it felt to be lost in lesser company. You mentor emerging minds, teaching that sovereignty begins with inner treaties, rules you sign with yourself and enforce without spectacle. Some will listen, and those few will surpass even your accomplishments. Their assent will confirm the wisdom of walking away. Influence strongest at its source, not squandered in endless persuasion. Completion of this long journey does not prompt celebration. It feels instead like opening yet another gate. Beyond lies further territory to explore, lands of mastery and meaning that were invisible while you labored to escape the quicksand of disrespect. You tighten laces, adjust your pack, and stride onward, comforted by one enduring realization. The distance you once feared to create became the bridge to everything you now cherish. Carry this lesson into every new frontier. When worth is questioned, do not launch speeches. Withdraw oxygen when loyalty wavers. Do not beg. Shut the gate. When they finally notice your absence, they will also notice their own poverty of character. By then, you will be far ahead, busy forging alliances with those who understood from the beginning what Machiavelli hinted and what experience confirmed. Respect is born at the moment you prove you can walk away and stay gone.